So today I'm teaching in the key of F, specifically using F melodic minor, which is going to look like this, okay? I'm playing on the 13th fret. Okay, and I'll go into that in depth after this next jam I'm going to do. But check out this jam. I'm jamming on this track. It's in the key of F. I just found it. I came across it during working with some other students, and it's a band called Hiroshima. It's a Japanese band based out of LA, and they have this song called Kokoro. In Japanese it means heart. I'm from Japan, so I'm into the Japanese stuff. But it's really cool. It's really sophisticated sounding, Asian yet funky, and kind of bluesy, if you can believe that. So, and I'm jamming on top of it, and I'm kind of playing, well, I'll just let you hear it, and then I'll explain some phrasing. I'll give you an example of a nice phrase to use on top of it, and then we'll go in depth of the scale, the F melodic minor. Okay, so check this out. Okay, so that was all in the key of F. F minor or F melodic minor. The minor pentatonic rides really on top of a lot of other scales, so it's good to know that one first. But we could talk a little bit about F melodic minor. Let me just lay it down. This is what we're doing, okay? By the way, if you're curious on what I'm recording on, I'm using the 513 PRS private stock, custom made to my specs. And on the floor, I have an MXR Dynacomp from 1974, running through distortion by King of Tone of Analog Man and digital delay at DD7, all into a 1966 Super Reverb. So, let's talk about F melodic minor. I'm going to start on the 13th fret, which is where your F scale starts in the minor. And just for reference, this is your minor scale, right? Okay. Now we're just going to add a few notes. This is melodic minor, watch. So it sounds more melodic, hence the name melodic minor, okay? Another name for this scale is, some people call it the major pentatonic. That's not necessarily a correct definition, but I've heard it used. But if you want to be more correct, it's melodic minor. So, alright, let me walk you through this. On the 6th string, it goes, on the 6th string, it's frets 13, 15, 16. And then on the 5th string, it's frets 13, 15, 16. And then on the 4th string, it's 13 and 15. And then on the 3rd string, it's frets 12, 13, and 15. On the 2nd string, it's frets 13, 14, 16. And on the 1st string, it's frets 13, 15, 16. So it's... It should make sense with the track too. It should fit. If you ever hit a note that doesn't fit, go back and revisit this section of the video, or ultimately trust your ear. Everything you learn in theory should make sense, okay? So that's kind of cool. The song was cool. I enjoyed playing it. This is take number, I don't know even. It's officially take 3, but unofficially take 6 or 7. I did a lot of takes on this. I did a great take the last one, and then it was not recording on a high definition camera. It was my other camera, and so I had to scratch that one. And so hopefully you enjoy this take as well. Anyway, so talking a little bit about this jam in the key of F. Just a few things. I'm going to get into some specific phrases. Okay, actually, let me just get into a few specific phrases right now. Here's a cool one I found. One more time, it's again. Okay, and the cool thing is it starts with a choke. It starts with a big, strong choke, and then it gets very specific, and it kind of rides the groove. Okay, so let's talk about it. I'm going to choke on the 2nd string, 16th fret, and then I'm going to go to the 1st string. It's I'm going to just explain it a few times. I'm not going to get too into this exact phrase because I just want to show you one phrase and encourage you to come up with some of your own. But just to show you again, it's okay. It's that's just an example, and I specifically chose this track as a lesson because it challenges you. It's a whole unique vibe, and if you find a song like this that's a unique vibe, I encourage you to come up with phrases that work exactly with the track you're jamming on. In other words, don't take some generic blues or some generic rock. phrasing and just try to superimpose it on the track. Listen to the track objectively and try to figure out if there's a specific rhythm or groove, accents, or even scale, like this one has a melodic minor scale. Try to incorporate the exact things that exact song needs and do the most exact jam on top of it. That's really going to help you become versatile. It's going to help you sound more seasoned, okay? And eventually you will run out of tracks that you've never come across, and eventually you'll have everything under your belt, which is exactly what happened to me. I want to talk about a few things. First of all, it doesn't take a lot of creativity to sound good on this track, okay? And I just want to throw that out there to say you don't have to, when you're jamming, try not to even come up with stuff that's too profound. You can just play the melodic minor scale like this. Really, you can just play it and it'll sound good. I'll show you an example. Very basic playing. I'm going to play again, this time very simply. Let me get my volume right. Okay, watch. I'll just jump in the middle of the track here. Okay. So you can do this. Play complex to sound good. You can play simple. Okay. Matter of fact, simple playing is probably harder than the mind-blowing stuff. You know what I mean? To play simple, to play deliberately, to play with authority is difficult. I want to talk about some playing styles. If you're interested in what I was playing, I drew heavily from Stevie Ray Vaughan, Santana, and Eric Clapton. Okay. So go ahead and start downloading and start listening to those artists. There's a lot of phrasing that I took from them in terms of the way they camp out on a groove. Also, you don't always have to sound like a guitar. I like this specific track. They used the koto in the song. The koto, it's spelled K-O-T-O. It's a Japanese instrument. There's a lot of strings. There's at least like 20 strings. It's almost like a harp, and it kind of sits on the ground. The person kneels and plays it like this. But when it's very refreshing and obviously Asian sounding. That's that Asian sounding harp that you always hear in those Japanese / Thai restaurants that I find all over South Florida. Okay. Another thing is you don't have to always sound like a guitar. Okay. Go ahead and sound like a piano if you can. Okay. There's a lot of phrasing that I purposely try to play like a piano. To have that level of flow. And notice the flow that I was able to just flow. That took a lot of time. Okay. In other words, if you have a lot of phrases that you like short phrases, try to see if you can sit down, maybe even turn off the track for a second, and put them together. Put together 3 and 4 and 5 phrases into one big phrase that has one continuous flow. Okay, it's just like learning a new language. Music is just like a language. Okay, just like you're learning a language where you need to speak, and in learning how to speak, you learn how to put together words. You know, the cat sat on the mat, right? At least we all started there. Okay, in first grade or whatever it was, and then eventually we got more sophisticated. Until I think when I was in high school, I started reading like Charles Dickens, and it was like a whole page was one sentence. I couldn't believe it. But it's the same on the guitar. You can have bigger sentences, bigger concepts, bigger paragraphs before you come up for air and take a breath. Okay, and so if you find yourself often just constricted to really short, choppy phrases, then I just want to challenge you to put together some of those phrases into something cool. One of the reasons I'm refraining from teaching you too many phrases in this lesson is because I want you to dig and be able to find a few new phrases. And you don't even need to look far. Look at the phrases you're already doing. Now, you may feel like the phrases you're doing are boring and flat as pancakes. I used to feel that way when I was trying to come up with phrases. And you need to go through a season of that, where it's just kind of, you don't feel it's as cool as, you know, some of your favorite guitar players, you know? And eventually you start putting them together and try to find accents, okay? In other words, the question that I'm always going to ask you in a phrase is, what's the most important note in that phrase? Is there a note in that phrase that the whole phrase is talking about? Kind of like, what's the most important word in that sentence? Okay? Is there a place where you're going to have an accent where you throw your weight into it, and does it revolve on a certain note, or is it on a certain beat, or is it a combination of both? You follow what I'm saying? Okay. Let me see my notes here. What do I want to talk about? Rhythm and accents. Oh yeah, and then there's another thing that's really important on this particular track is don't overplay. Don't overplay. It's easy to overplay. Just like in life, it's easy to overspeak, isn't it? It's easy to say too much. It's hard to say just enough, or even to hold back and leave some to the imagination. But the better guitarists are always leaving some to the imagination. Basically, you don't want to give your audience too much. If you give your audience too much information, at some point they're going to disengage, where they're going to be not interested in what you have to say anymore. You kind of dilute yourself. If you give them just enough information, if you give them just enough playing, just enough notes, just enough busyness, that's not good either, because now they're satisfied. Now they've had enough. It was appropriate, but it was enough. And you don't want to leave them there either. You kind of want to leave them where you didn't give them enough, where they feel like they're not quite getting enough. Like they need to listen a little longer, and maybe in the next minute or so they're going to get a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. Always you want to err on the side of just a little bit less than what you really wanted to say. Always hold back on the guitar. And if you can do that, you'll always have your audience kind of just on the edge of their seat, like kind of panting for the note, like wanting it. Like, when is he going to erupt? When is he going to explode? When is he going to say what he really wants to say? And you just do a little bit, and you gotta pull it back. That takes a lot of tact to play that way, but that's the goal. And if you're struggling with this track, then I want to submit to you that that's the exact struggle. That's where this track will challenge you. Not just in the melodic minor scale, not just in phrasing, but the real struggle is you may feel like it's just not enough excitement. You know, I need more drums and bass and just more hoopla. But try to treat this as an exercise just in playing in a way that's reserved. There's a lot of musical maturity, I think, that this depicts. It's funny, when I was a kid, I had this pet peeve that I wanted to sound like an old man. I guess I just wanted to grow up too fast, you know. And so when I was 16 years old or whatever, I would play stuff like this because I always wanted to sound like I'm 45. Now that I play full time, I don't really care. But it is important, though, to be able to just entertain the concept of sounding like you're 45. You know, whether you know, whatever age you find yourself, it's more like, how do you want to depict your personality through the speakers? Who do you want to be? You know. And sometimes when I play, I really want to act like I'm 14. Like, that's the way I play guitar, like I'm 14. And sometimes I'll play like I'm 35, you know. And sometimes I really want to go for the 45, 55 kind of laid backness. See if you can try to understand what I'm talking about. My old guitar teacher, he used to say, when I was a kid, your first 5 years of playing, you're getting as busier and faster as you possibly can, and then you spend the rest of your life trying to learn how to slow down, you know. And he told me that when I was in the getting busy phase, you know, and I've been slowing down for like 20 years since, and I get it now. I get it now. A lot of what B.B. King is doing, he's just chilling, you know, and I love it, you know. And so my personal playing style is a little busier than B.B. King, but I can appreciate where B.B.'s coming from. You know what I'm saying? So just treat this as an exercise. Have just lots of fun with it, and see if you can get creative. Make sure you go listen to some Santana, especially Europa. That's a good song with Santana, and some Stevie Ray Vaughan, like Texas Flood kind of vibe, and some Eric Clapton too. Especially I was influenced a lot, especially shows in this playing, by the Unplugged album. The Unplugged album. So just check that out and enjoy your lesson. This is in the key of F. Should be lots of fun. All right, bye-bye.